everyone. Welcome to another moment in Black history presented by the Christian Education Ministry of the Union Baptist Church. Today we partnered with the UBC Preaching Ministry as we continue our focus on the Black worship experience.
The event that we know as Black preaching in modern-day America spans a broad spectrum of styles and genres. You know them. You've probably seen them. Some are more animated than others.
If I have your spirit, you can strip me naked and drop me over in New York, and I'll do this again.
Some are storytellers.
That bloodhound said, "Girl, said, I don't know, but give me the Tuesday. I'll get you back."
While others resemble college professors.
Number one, it's the natural man. Paul refers to 4 types. Number one, the natural man.
There are event Christians. These are Christians who show up for the show.
Both revered and reviled over time by disparate portions of the African American community, Black preaching at present is in flux, and its future is yet to be seen. However, major aspects of its storied past may not be quite what most would expect. Simultaneously, equal parts science and art, preaching in the African American community and from the African American experience has traveled some distance to achieve its current place on the African American cultural landscape. But as varied as these styles can be, there is commonality in their roots. From the very earliest day, Black preaching in particular distinguished itself from the pack. This was inevitable because of 3 unique key contributors that came together at just the right points in history to form what we all recognize today. Just as the people who were taken from Africa were not all from the same tribe or nation, neither was there a singular belief system practiced by all that can be called African traditional religion. However, there are 5 fundamental spiritual tenets held in common that are found in part or in full in most areas. These tenets are belief in God or a supreme being or creator, belief in divinities, belief in spirits, positive and negative, angels, demons, belief in ancestors, and finally the belief or practice of magic and medicine. Secondly, we have the impact of the white community on Black preaching. A true paradox of the Black preaching experience is that the audience of those early preachers was almost exclusively white. This was due in large part to 2 things. First, it was a bit of a novelty to some of the white congregations, many of which may not have had white preachers of any caliber available in their vicinity at a given time. Remember, in many rural parts of the country at that time, preachers survived as itinerants, that is, moving from place to place, from Sunday to Sunday. Secondly, the power and the passion with which they preached the gospel was rarely rivaled by their white counterparts because of the God perspective of the oppressed was fueled differently than that of the oppressor. It was acceptance in the early years by many of these congregations, North and South, that provided any platform at all for the Black preacher to exercise his gift. This was due in large part to the fact that for various reasons, many slave owners were loath to allow the slaves to hear the gospel. They feared it might raise questions in the minds of the slaves, or they themselves didn't want the internal conflict of trying to justify holding slaves as Christians. And then there was George Whitefield. Whitefield was an English revival preacher with a drama degree from Oxford and a homiletic style unknown to the white church in North America at that time during the first half of the 1700s. Prior to that time, so-called white religion was characterized by a cold stoicism, which made it difficult for the African slaves to recognize given their spiritual experiences from the motherland. Whitefield drew the attention of a wide cross-section of people in the colonies, from Benjamin Franklin to the African slaves up and down the eastern seaboard. In fact, a number of the Africans who got saved through Whitefield's ministry began preaching and planting churches from Massachusetts to Georgia, changing forever faith in the African American community. Now, most important among these 3 key factors was the impact of slavery on the enslaved. To state the obvious, slavery had a devastating impact on those who were enslaved. It shaped their perspective on every aspect of life, from food to family to faith. Food was beyond a precious commodity, and family could even be an unexpected source of pain, all depending on the mood of the slave owner. Even the perception of God couldn't escape the ugliness of slavery. What does that mean? Perceiving God from the position of the slave enveloped every emotion that the hope given by faith could muster. Whatever wasn't torn away from his inner being by his condition was offered up to God out of sheer necessity. It should be no surprise then that preaching the good news to the oppressed from the position of the oppressed was often an exercise in putting a match to gasoline. With all of their own emotion and passion sitting just below the surface, those men preaching messages of faith, hope, and the love of God helps us begin to see the path that leads from the villages of West Africa, through the white churches of colonial America, to the establishment of the country's first black churches, straight to the pulpits at the Potter's House and at Oak Cliff and at Saddleback and at Union Baptist Church.